So here is our translate component. It's getting some, it has default props here, some of them to note which are being passed through the higher order component translate. So this T function, this is where the magic happens. So this property is again getting passed through the higher order component. And also as a note, because we're using this higher order component, we're also tapping into, just to reiterate, the IN18 or the I18N object that's getting passed in through the provider. So you might notice that it's also getting imported here at the top, but this is actually a separate copy and it's not related to this, and we'll go over why that is in a second. But for now, you should understand that this translate function is getting passed into the higher order component, and if you were to look at the docs here, you would see it being passed in here. So this is an example of using the higher order component, and some of this stuff has changed because I wrote this like 2 years ago, so it's using some slightly different semantics now. But still, we're still using this T function here that's being passed in through the props. The name of the HOC has changed to be with translation. We should probably change that. But this T function is the function that actually makes the translation. So there are 3 different cases of using the translation that I want to go over, and they're all highlighted in this component. So there are 3 different ways where you can make a translation. So we kind of touched on using this format for making a translation. You have a translation component, you have a key name, maybe you might have some kind of variable, like let's say you wanted the bank name here, then you would do something like %s bank name. Maybe it's the other thing, it starts with parentheses, I forget. And then you would say something like this, and you'd have your bank name or something like that. So that's one way. That's the most common use that you'll find. So you might find yourself in times where you really don't want to use a component and you actually really want to use a string. So this is an example of a time where it's necessary to use a string. Maybe you need to pass something into a library that doesn't understand what is a React component, or in this case, this is part of a form object that has an error message that's expecting this to be in the format of a string. So we use this static method parse text from the translate component. So this translates all coming from the same import here from our translate component, and this parse text function is happening here.